Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Coram and Shreve here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, where we saw another strong day, Ken, for the Nasdaq.
Yeah, low volume gain for the Nasdaq, but we'll take it. It closed actually above the 12,000 level, also a positive sign. But we got three stocks to look at. We have to take a look at Tesla. Strong gap up on a pretty decent second quarter earnings report. Elf Beauty. We talk a lot about Ulta Beauty, but Elf Beauty, ELF, top to buy point today. And finally, Carlisle companies in a good base ahead of earnings next week.
All right, well, we will get to those, but first, let's take a look at the major indexes today. So the Nasdaq leading the gains, up about 1.4%. The S&P 500 also notched a gain of 1% today. The Dow up about 0.5%. The Russell 2000, the only one down today towards the end of the session, but it does look like it may have eked out a gain by the end of the day. So just basically flat today there for the Russell, slightly positive. But once again, we have a strong day for the Nasdaq. So that makes 3 in a row. And as you mentioned, getting above that round number of 12,000 is significant.
Yeah, I think the initial follow-through day for the Nasdaq was on June 24th, and that follow-through day had a hard time getting going. Nasdaq came up to its 50-day moving average, got turned away, and now it's back above the 50-day line. Good higher volume rally on Tuesday, another higher volume rally on Wednesday, and now volume really dried up today as we continued higher. So we're kind of at a point now where you might expect a little bit of a pullback for the Nasdaq. If we do get a pullback, we don't want to see a higher volume decline. The less distribution days we have, the better. So look for some lower volume declines from here. That would be a sign of strength, and we'll see. But we know next week is going to be the busiest week yet of earnings, and we're kind of going into this busy earnings week with a strong rally in the Nasdaq. But we don't know what Apple is going to say, or Google, Facebook, Alphabet, some high-profile earnings reports, and market's hoping for some good news. Hopefully, we'll get it.
Yeah. And so with the Nasdaq up 5 out of the last 6 sessions now, and a couple of those gains coming in strong volume, as you mentioned, Ken, and with so much on the horizon that could really move the market, it seems like investors should be cautious right now in terms of how much exposure they have with, news events aside, just the technicals alone signal, hey, potentially we could see a pause here. Doesn't mean that's necessarily going to happen immediately, but we could see some sort of pause. And we do have those news events coming up next week that could really shake things up in the market.
Yeah, a big week of earnings, like I said. We also have the Fed meeting. So the market at this point is fully expecting 75 basis points from the Fed when they announce their decision. That's going to be next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and then going forward to September, there's the chances of a 75 basis point hike are still there, but there's still a fair amount of people expecting 50 basis points. So I think that's another reason the market is rallying here. First of all, expectations that maybe second quarter earnings season is not going to be so bad after all. And also the fact that, the Fed's going to raise rates 2 times. They're going to do it in July. They'll do it again in September. But after that, they may decide to pause a little bit. So that, I think, is putting the market in a good mood as well. But still a lot of uncertainty out there. We're still cautious on the market. I mean, trying to increase exposure with leaderboard and swing trader, but we're still fairly lightly invested, only about 35%. Just we're not seeing a lot of great action below the surface. So caution still advised. Okay to increase exposure a little bit, but still favor some cash here.
Let's also take a look at the S&P 500 as well. Getting close to that 4,000 mark. It looks like a little over a point shy of 4,000 by the end of the day today.
Yeah, and it looks like volume really quieted down in the Nasdaq today, but not so much on the NYSE. So we're tracking pretty close to what we saw on Wednesday. But again, that 4,000 level chart looks similar to the Nasdaq. It's been a nice rally off lows. Probably at a point where we're getting a little overbought here. So maybe the S&P 500 pulls back a little bit as it flirts with that 4,000 level. But we'll see.
Okay. And a quick look at the Dow and the Russell 2000. So the Dow closing in on 32,000 did manage a close above that nice round number there today, Ken. And we also have IWN, the ETF that tracks the Russell 2000, reversing higher by the end of the day. It does look like by about 0.25%, if not more.
Both the Russell 2000 and the Dow, really all major stock indexes recovered off lows. I know the Dow was down almost a little over 1% earlier today. That's when President Biden was tested positive. Tested positive for COVID. So the markets kind of whooshed lower. The Dow fell about a little over 1% intraday, but closed up near its high. And you can see the Russell 2000 also rallied nicely off lows here. So.
Good to see. Okay, let's take a look at some stocks. You mentioned Tesla's earnings, so we got to go there. The stock closed today up almost to 10%, some strong volume behind the gains. Just a quick look at the weekly chart here. We've been talking about how, some subtle signs of strength versus the market with these higher lows here, Ken. And Tesla also getting above its high from early June, that round number at 800. Still has that 200-day line or the 40-week line here on the weekly chart ahead of it, but a strong week shaping up for the stock, really trying to get out of its downtrend.
If I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me today if Tesla was buyable today with this huge gap up, I'd be doing pretty well. So this is a tricky one because on one sense on the daily chart, it looks like almost a breakout from a bottoming base here. You had that rally from, what was it, just below, it rallied up to 792. Yeah, and then so it rallied from that low, and so it kind of has the look of a bottoming base here. What I like most about Tesla, and we did not add this to leaderboard today, we felt like we'd be chasing it a little bit, but I know some growth investors that like to buy gaps up, and what they want to see is they want to see the gap up hold throughout the day, and Tesla really did a good job of holding that gain. You can see it really did not try to pull back. The very end of the day, it tried to pull back, and look at what it did on that intraday chart. It closed all the way up, near its high. So, we did not add it to leaderboard today. This has been a name that has been on leaderboard, but it was a pretty good earnings report. Some concern about a decline in profit margin, but all in all, there was plenty of good news in this report too, and good to see Tesla longs rewarded today.
So it does seem like for those who did want to make an aggressive buy, today could have been the day to maybe go with a small starter position here on this strength, but you need to size that position appropriately and make sure you're cutting your losses, because Tesla is such a tricky one. The last time that it really was showing a lot of strength in the market earlier this spring, this is not really a buy and hold stock,
right?
At least right now. So you gotta be careful. If this doesn't work, make sure you're not just sitting with it because it's Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love the price action today. It really showed strength and support all day. But now what we want to see is again, what we were talking about with the Nasdaq, what is the pullback going to look like when it comes? Is it going to be in heavy volume? Is it going to be volatile? Is it going to be whippy, or is it just going to digest these gains calmly? Maybe dip in light volume for a few days. That would be ideal price action, and that often presents a new opportunity to get into the stock. So good price action from here, like we talk about a lot on IBD Live, is just some sideways movement near this 800 level, and see if it can digest gains in orderly fashion.
All right, that would be great. Let's also take a look at Elf Beauty. Ulta, of course, a big player in the space that we do mention. Olaplex, also in the beauty theme, but it's Elf Beauty here. Maybe this is the dark horse of the personal care and cosmetic space, because it has seen quite a move since its last quarterly earnings report. We've been talking about this stock in this handle pullback here and a potential early entry when it was clearing a trend line from that handle. But today we get a full-fledged breakout in some above average volume here.
Yeah, so Elf Beauty and Ulta Beauty are really catered to two different crowds. I mean, Ulta is kind of premium product, and the locations are beautiful. They spend a lot on their store openings. Ulta Elf Beauty's, just a smaller. They tend to be in I don't want to say lower income neighborhoods, but they're just kind of smaller stores, and but they're doing well. I mean, the fundamentals are pretty decent. You've got pretty good revenue growth in recent quarters. Some problems with the chart here. It was good to see volume at the breakout today come in a little bit above average. Yesterday, was a low volume gain, but higher than Tuesday's level. So this one still looks like it's in the 5% buy zone, but it's up several days in a row. This is its fifth straight gain. And if we go to the weekly chart, even though we're still looking at a stock in the 5% buy zone here, you can see it's up I think it's 8 out of the past 9 weeks. And so, this stock actually looks a little bit stretched to me, maybe a little bit extended, even though technically it's still in that 5% buy zone. So just wanted to talk about Elf Beauty, that even though according to our buy rules, it's still within the 5% buy zone from the 33.54 entry. You might want to just wait for a little pause here and get a better
little
entry
base,
point.
maybe.
Yeah,
exactly. It's over 20% above both the 10-week and the 40-week, and so good to see. Even with this deep base, not quite 40% deep, that's still pretty deep, but that 10-week line is trying to get back above the 40-week. So I think that's really great. Maybe it'll form a new smaller base here. And then just regarding the stores, I've never seen a standalone, but I do know that the brand is carried at Target and those kinds of big box stores. So kind of a drugstore brand, that kind of price range for
that's better. Yeah, exactly.
Those types of products versus Ulta selling high end and low end. I don't know if they sell Elf. Maybe they do.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure.
But it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know, Ken.
Yeah. But I will say this was a kind of a deep base, like you said, almost 40%. It corrected 40% off its high, but that rally off lows, you can see why its accumulation distribution rating is A+. That's the highest possible, and it's rewarded by a lot of above average volume weekly price gains as the stock moved off its lows. So it is a stock under accumulation. There are some positive qualities here, but you mentioned it's kind of extended above the 10-week moving average, and probably could use a little pause here, but acting very well in the current market.
One to keep an eye on, eyes, lips, and face on. And now let's check out Carlisle, because that is what ELF stands for. So Carlisle here, CSL, got that blue dot on the weekly chart, up almost 5% for the week. A couple days ago, had some strong volume behind the move. This is forming a double bottom. Ken, give us your thoughts.
Well, I talked about a little bit in the earnings preview column where we go over, earnings options trades. And even though this one kind of fits the definition of an option trade, the problem is it's very thinly traded in the options market. So you'd like to find more liquid names, but it's very thinly traded in the options market. However, the base is looking pretty good here. It's formed the right side of this double bottom base with some we're talking about these above average volume gains with ELF. Same thing with Carlisle as it works its way higher here, crosses the 250 level. So earnings next week. It's a pretty well sculpted double bottom base with two legs down. So you've had a good shakeout of sellers, and the stock rallying in pretty good volume in recent weeks, and we'll see if it has a positive response to earnings. It's a risky buy ahead of earnings, and normally might be a good option trade, but Carl, it's just too thin in the options market. But we've got some other ideas in the column that'll be out tomorrow.
Great. And we'll be on earnings watch for this one. Maybe that'll be the catalyst for a potential breakout, and that is even if breakouts are going to start working. That's the other issue. We want to see more breakouts continuing to work. It's like some in the medical space and some turnaround stars like Ollie's are doing well after breakouts, but we need more. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's tough. In the summertime, it's when trading volume tends to be light, and really heavy volume and institutional buying is the real fuel behind technical breakouts. And when they're not working, it's usually just because there's just not enough institutional buying fueling the gain. So summertime is a difficult environment in general for breakouts to work. But as we wind down the summer and head into the fall, it might become a more favorable environment.
Here's hoping. And it's not just the earnings reports next week that we may need to potentially be worried about, because after the close, Snap issued its results and it's down about 26% on the report. So that is hitting Google, that is hitting Pinterest, that is hitting Meta. So we'll have to see if those related stocks thematically here, maybe there's some commentary on the advertising side of the business here that Google and the likes are moving in sympathy here with Snap. So we'll have to see tomorrow if these stocks can really shake that off. What do you think?
Well, when you see a pullback, and if you look at the weekly chart for Snap, this is just a good example of how technicals can tell a bearish story, before the actual earnings reports. So this one's has been in a lot of trouble for some time, and there's a reason why institutions have been selling. And here you have another earnings report. Their earnings report 3 months ago wasn't very good either, and that fueled a big sell-off. So down another 25% today. So it's very important to pay attention to price, volume, supply, demand. Pay attention when big investors start selling a stock, because that selling's been going on for a while with Snap.
Mm-hmm. And it does look like futures potentially feeling the impact of this Snap report. So we'll just have to see in tomorrow's session how the broad market reacts. You wouldn't think that Snap alone could bring down the market, but if it's weighing on Google and Meta, some of these other
Sure.
heavyweights, we'll have to see. But like we said, with a couple of days of strong gains, it would make sense to, at the very least, see some sort of pause from here. But
Yep.
Overnight action doesn't always translate to the following session.
Very true.
Only time will tell. All right. Well, thank you, Ken, so much for all of your analysis today. Speaking of earnings and our analysis and reaction, make sure you are tuning in tomorrow morning to IBD Live. Special guest Ross Haber of Traderline rejoins the show, and he has a very traditional growth strategy that he loves. So he's got that technology focus. I know he's been in Tesla in the past, so there will be a lot to talk to him about tomorrow. So make sure you tune into that, investors.com/IBD Live. And then coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern, my Friday live stream on YouTube is going to be with Charles Harris. So also another Tesla bull. So we'll catch up with him and talk about what he's seeing in the current market, perhaps some parallels that can be drawn to the market bottom in 2009. Really looking forward to that discussion. So make sure you tune into my YouTube channel, 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.